Hey guys, Eric here. I figured I would give you a little bit of an update or an insight really into what exactly goes into manufacturing a game because frankly, it's something that I had to learn about this year. And there's a ton that happens between when the game comes up and is come up with and is incepted, and when it's greenlit for production, and then when it finally arrives on the shelf at Walmart or Target or in this case a friendly local game store. So we're kind of going through a miniature version of that because obviously we're not in Walmart or Target. We are delivering to a set of very lovely Kickstarter backers like yourself. And so it's kind of all condensed into a smaller timeline, which is happening this summer. So the first thing that happens, which is happening right now, is every single card gets put into a single file. And the reason that it's all moved into a single art file is so that the factory can print off sheets of 55 cards at a time. Now, we're working with an incredibly professional and successful company called AdMagic. They make Cards Against Humanity, they make Exploding Kittens, and a whole host of other really awesome card games. And so we've been really lucky to be in great hands who've kind of walked us through this entire process so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because Lord knows I would make a terrible looking wheel. But after those files get approved by us creatively, right, and Justice has been going through every single Doomling and making all of his wish list changes and tweaks, then what happens is they have a designer go through our files for technical specifications. And we have been going through different color swatch books to see like just exactly what type of gold we want the gold box to be. And we have been going through, all the different kind of creative feedback we've received, where someone says, "Hey, this particular wording of this trait effect is unclear. You might want to say this." And we've been making those kinds of tweaks. And every Doomling is getting a glossed over, version so that it gets really pumped up. You'll notice it in all the colors are going to be much more vibrant than what you've seen in a lot of our live streams. And in general, we've just had a whole laundry list of things we've wanted to do that are finally getting done. So after we deliver those files and their designer approves them for technical proficiency, we get what's called a pre-production sample. And that's basically when they give us a version of every single product we're making. So we'll get a gold box that we can see. We're going to get playmats. We're going to see every single sticker that's on the website. We're going to get the playmat bag, and we look at it and we compare it against the file that Justice made. We compare it against what our what we want. We compare them against each other, right? Does, for instance, the Comet Showers playmat look just as awesome as the Age of Dracula, right? And we send them notes based on that. So then the next thing that happens, and this is really cool, after we get it to where we want it to be, they're going to print every single game, every single copy, but they won't cut it because I guess the printing process is very cheap. However, it's the cutting and the packing that is actually really expensive. So then we will get what's called a post-production sample, which is this is the game exactly as it's going to be sold or delivered rather. And so we'll look at it one last time, make sure there are no spelling errors. Now, we've already gone over a lot of this, but again, making sure that there are no last minute little mistakes, and hopefully there aren't. So then we push green light and all those games get packed into production. And when I say all those games, it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be something like 25,000 copies of Doomlings, which is like, it's more than we would have ever dreamed of. But the reason we have to buy all these in volume is because that's what actually makes the game attainable, right? If I were to just print a few of these games, they'd be hundreds and hundreds of dollars for each game. And so unfortunately, we are purchasing a large quantity to be able to keep the pricing low. And so that's why you're going to notice we're going to be keeping that pre-order store open throughout the rest of the year, just in case anybody who is interested in getting in on the pre-order Kickstarter editions will be able to. However, once those are all sold, that's the end, right? Next year, when we go into e-commerce, we continue to go into retail, they'll never exist. They'll never be sold in stores. So you'll never be able to get a gold box edition. There are Kickstarter exclusive cards, which you all are aware of, that will never be sold in stores. The community playmat is a Kickstarter exclusive. That'll never be sold in stores. So there are some things that just have to be a limited run. But then there are others that will do additional prints of. So for instance, you will be able to get the stickers online afterwards. But that being said, once all of those games are printed and packed, then they go into these shipping containers. And we've kind of mentioned before that there's a bit of a crisis happening in the shipping industry. And that really has to do with what happened during COVID, which was a whole bunch of Americans purchased a lot of products from China. And so there was this flood of just Peloton bikes and, home decor stuff that went on shipping containers, and these containers ended up in the US, but they didn't go back to China. And the reason was they would go back empty, and there were so many of them that the economics of it didn't allow for these containers. So there's a shortage of containers in China, and also just a shortage of boats in general. There's a log jam inside of the ports currently. So we have been warned that it's slow, but that we are still in good shape to get our games in by Christmas. There is another video that we'll be sharing that just kind of expresses that, as Kickstarter backers, and, Justice and I have backed as well, we need to be aware that Kickstarters in the future may need more time or more shipping money, and we have to be patient with them. Again, this does not affect Doomlings, right? Our model is sound. We will update you if there is a situation where the crisis kind of, unfolds, but right now we're good. And the other issue is that paper costs are rising very, very quickly. There's a shortage in paper products and trees. So we're experiencing that as well, but again, it does not affect Doomlings. But once all of our games make it onto their cargo container, and it's a little competitive to get it, but we will get a cargo ship date. And then from there, it takes 55 days. And all of these different cargo containers will go to all of our fulfillment centers. So we're gonna have a fulfillment center here in California. We're gonna have a fulfillment center in New Jersey. We're gonna have a fulfillment center in the UK. We're gonna have a fulfillment center in Germany. And then we're also gonna have a fulfillment center in Australia. And so all these cargo containers go to all these different fulfillment centers and get unloaded. And this will happen probably around early November. And then once those get unloaded, they have to be checked for damages. Sometimes there are delays. But then after that, then all the shipping labels that are printed with your names on them get put into boxes, and the games and all the add-ons get packed in. And that's when they get shipped out in time for Christmas. So there's a whole lot happening, and it's wild. I mean, with the testing, every product has to be safety tested because it's technically a game for children. That takes time. There are also just a lot of samples, right, where they have to stop the machines and they run off. Sometimes they have to print the thing like 50 or 60 times just to get the ink right and calibrated for us. So there's just a lot that goes into these games that I'm still learning about, frankly. But that being said, it is literally the only thing I do from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep is think about this and run different simulations to try to figure out how many of these games do we need to order and how many are coming in and where do they need to go, how many go to Australia versus the UK. So it's kind of a crash course in a brand new industry. I mean, this is our first game. So it's all exciting. We are going to be sending newsletters out every month, maybe even sooner than that, just to update you on what's happening with the game, how things are going, lessons we're learning. We're also going to have a ton of creative little surprises along the way. And we also will be doing some more live streams, so stay tuned for that. But I just figured I would give you an update. We'll keep taking you on the journey with us. So thanks again for backing Doomlings. You guys made this happen. That is the most important thing that I probably should have said at the beginning of this 10-minute video, but we are where we are. Thank you for making this happen. This is our dream come true. So we'll keep you posted. But in the meantime, have a fabulous day. I am.